नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमं श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 25. How all the residents of Varanasi became Vaishnavas. Text 81 points. प्रकाशानंद कहे तुम्हें साक्षात भगवान तबु यदि करतार दास अभिमान. Prakashanand replied, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. Nonetheless, you are considering yourself his eternal servant. तबु पूज्य हो तुम्हें बड़ा महाई थे सर्वनाश है मोर तुम्हारा निंदाते." My dear Lord, you are the Supreme Lord, and although you consider yourself the Lord's servant, you are nonetheless worshipable. You are much greater than I am. Therefore, all my spiritual achievements have been lost because I have blasphemed you. Because Mahaprabhu called him, that you are Sakshat Brahman. So how come you are paying obeisances to me and touching my feet? So Prakashanand is saying, you're the Supreme Lord. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prashantatma kotishvapi maha. O great sage, out of many millions of materially liberated people who are free from ignorance, and out of many millions of siddhas who have nearly attained perfection, there is hardly one pure devotee of Narayana. Only such a devotee is actually completely satisfied and peaceful. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam. Ayu Shriyam Yasho Dharmam Lokan Ashishe Vacha Hanti Shreyansi Sarvani Punso Mahadatikram. When a person mistreats great souls, his lifespan, opulence, reputation, religion, possessions, and good fortune are all destroyed. So this is a statement made by Shukdev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. Naisham matisthavaduru kramangrim sparshate narthapagamo yadartha mahiyasam padrajo abhishekam nishkinchananam nagranitayam. Unless human society accepts the dust of the lotus feet of great Mahatmas, devotees who have nothing to do with material possessions, mankind turn its attention to the lotus feet of Krishna. Those lotus feet vanquish all the unwanted, miserable conditions of material life. So this is again from Srimad Bhagavatam. Ebe tomar padabje upajive bhakti tathi lagi kari tomar jagarni pranyanti. Henceforward I shall certainly develop devotion service unto your lotus feet. For this reason I have come to you and have fallen down at your lotus feet. Ete bali prabhure laya tatha eva sila prabhure prakashananda puchite langila. After saying this, Prakashanand Saraswati sat down with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and began to question the Lord as follows. Mayavade karila jat doshera akhyana sabe jani acharera kalpita vyakhyana. Prakashanand Saraswati said, we can understand the faults you have pointed out in Mayavad philosophy. All the explanations given by Shankaracharya are imaginary. Wow. Sutrer karila tumi mukhyartha vivrana taha shuni sabar haila chamatkarama. My dear Lord, whatever direct meaning you have given when explaining the Brahma Sutra is certainly very wonderful to all of us. तुमित ईश्वर तुम्हाराचे सर्वशक्ति संक्षेप रूपे कहा तुमी सुनिते है माती. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore you have inconceivable energies. I wish to hear from you briefly about the Brahma Sutra. So Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra, then Prakashanand Saraswati said he had already understood Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's explanation of the direct import of Brahma Sutra. Nonetheless, he was requesting the Lord to now briefly give the purport of the Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra. प्रभु कहे आमी जीव अति तुच्छ ज्ञान व्यास सूत्रेर गंभीर अर्थ व्यास भगवान. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, I am an ordinary living being and therefore my knowledge is very insignificant. However, the meaning of the Brahma Sutra is very grave because its author Vyasadeva is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. An ordinary living being cannot actually understand the meaning of the Vedanta Sutra. One can understand the meaning if he hears it from the authority Vyasadeva himself. For this purpose, Vyasadeva gave a commentary on the Brahma Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. He had been instructed to do this by his spiritual master, Narad. Of course, Shankaracharya distorted the meaning of the Brahma Sutra because he had a motive to serve. He wanted to establish Vedic knowledge in place of the atheistic knowledge spread by Lord Buddha. All these necessities are there according to time and circumstances. Neither Lord Buddha nor Shankaracharya is to be blamed. The time required such an explanation for the understanding of various types of atheists. The conclusion is that one cannot understand the meaning of Vedanta Sutra without going through Srimad Bhagavatam and rendering devotional service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore further explains the matter in the following verses. तार सूत्रेर अर्थ कौन जीव नहीं जाने अतएव आपने सूत्रार्थ करियाछे व्याख्यान. The purport of the Vedanta Sutra is very difficult for an ordinary person to understand. But Vyasadeva, out of his causeless mercy, has personally explained the meaning. यही सूत्र करता यदि कराए व्याख्यान तबे सूत्रेर मूल अर्थ लोकेर है ज्ञान. If the Vedanta Sutra is explained by Vyasadeva himself, who has written it, the original meaning can be understood by the people in general. Pranaver yehi artha gayatri te sei artha chatushlokite vivari akai. The meaning of the sound vibration Omkar is present in the Gayatri mantra. The same is elaborately explained in the 4 shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam known as Chatu Shloki. Brahmare Ishwara Chatu Shloki Yakahila Brahma Narade Yase Upadesha Kahila. Whatever was spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Lord Brahma in those 4 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam was also explained to Narad by Lord Brahma. Narad say artha vyasera kahila, shuni ved vyasa mane vichara karila. Whatever Lord Brahma told Narad Muni was again explained by Narad Muni to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva later considered these instructions in his mind. So that Chatushloki Bhagavatam, it's called the essence of Bhagavatam in those 4 shlokas. यही अर्थ आमार सूत्रेर व्याख्यान रूपा भागवत करिवा सूत्रेर भाष्य स्वरूपा. Srila Vyasadeva considered that whatever he had received from Narad Muni is an explanation of Omkar. He would elaborately explain in his book Srimad Bhagavatam as a commentary on the Brahma Sutra. The sound vibration Omkar is a root of Vedic knowledge. Omkar is known as the Mahavakya or Supreme Sound. So that's why Om is very powerful and people like to chant it and meditating on it. Whatever meaning is in the Supreme found Omkar is further, in the Supreme Sound Omkar is further understood in the Gayatri Mantra. Again, the same meaning is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 4 shlokas known as Chatushloki. which begin the words Aham eva sameva agre. The Lord said, only I existed before the creation. From this statement, 4 shlokas have been composed, and these are known as the Chatushloki. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead informed Lord Brahma about the purport of the Chatushloki. Again, Lord Brahma explained this to Narad Muni, and Narad Muni explained it to Vishla Vyasadeva. In this way, by the parampara system of disciplic succession, the import of Vedic knowledge is explained, or gradually the original pranav is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. The conclusion is that the Brahma Sutra is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Vedanta Sutra, Brahma Sutra, when Prakashanand is asking Mahaprabhu to explain, so it's basically coming down that Bhagavatam is the explanation of Vedanta Sutra. Chari Ved Upanishad Yat Kichu Hai Tar Artha Laya Vyasa Karila Sanchaya. Vyasadeva collected whatever Vedic conclusions were in the 4 Vedas and 108 Upanishads and placed them in the aphorisms or in the Sutra of Vedanta Sutra. Yehi Sutra Yehi Rik Vishay Vachan Bhagavate Se Rik Shloke Nibandhan. In the Vedanta Sutra, the purport of all Vedic knowledge is explained, and in Srimad Bhagavatam, the same purport has been explained in 18,000 verses. Atev Brahma Sutrer Bhashya Shri Bhagavat Bhagavad Shloka Upanishad Kahe Ekamat. Therefore, it is to be concluded that the Brahma Sutra is explained vividly in Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, what is explained in the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam has the same purport as what is explained in the Upanishads. Atma Vasyam Idam Vishwam Yat Kinchit Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tektena Bhunjita Ma Gridha Kasya Svittana. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Supreme Lord. One should therefore accept only those things for himself that are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong. So similar shloka appears in Ishopanishad. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. Communists and socialists are trying to propagate the philosophy that everything belongs to the mass of people or to the state. Such an idea is not perfect. When this idea is expanded, we can see that everything belongs to God. That will be the perfection of the communistic idea. The purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is here very nicely explained. Every one of us must be satisfied with those things the Supreme Personality of Godhead has allotted us. We should not encroach upon the possessions of others. This simple idea can be expanded in our daily lives. Everyone should have a piece of land given by the government, and everyone should possess a few cows. Both of these should be utilized for one's daily bread. About that, if something is manufactured in a factory, it should be considered the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because the ingredients belong to the Supreme Lord. Actually, there is no need to manufacture such things artificially, but if it is done, one should consider that the goods produced belong to the Supreme Lord. Spiritual communism recognizes the supreme proprietorship of the Supreme Lord. As Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam, a person in full consciousness of knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. But our problem is, here Krishna said, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. The sacrifices and austerity doesn't mean we do big yajnas and that is sacrifice, or go to tapasya in Himalayas. That is austerity. That is also there, but We sacrifice so many things, so many points of enjoyment to work hard, whether study, whether doing a job, business. For what? We are sacrificing our time, our energy to make some money so that we can enjoy. But to understand that Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices. That means benefits of all the sacrifices should be used in his service, not for our sense enjoyment. So that is when one attains peace. Otherwise, there is so much of envy when we make ourselves as a center of all our activities, all our desires, everything is for me. Then the next person is also doing the same way, thinking the same way, the other person also thinking the same way. And in this way, 7 trillion people are thinking that. And these are human beings on earth. What to speak of animals and trees and birds and insects. So how much enviousness there could be, how much friction there could be between different people. And then there is the question of peace. And if there is no peace, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there is no happiness. How can happiness be there without peace? It is further explained in Srimad Bhagavatam that no one should claim anything as his property. Whatever property one claims to be his actually belongs to Krishna. One should be satisfied with whatever has been allotted by the Supreme Lord and should not encroach upon the property of others. This will lead to peace in the whole world. Certainly, Kali Yuga doesn't look like we can attain this kind of peace or this kind of understanding. But if we analyze, yes, that is the only peace formula. There is another saying, although he said it in an ironic way, but people think he said it correctly. And what saying is, uh, good good boundaries make good neighbors. Although it was an ironic statement when he said that, the person originally said. But we think it's the same way. Good boundaries make good neighbors. But no, it doesn't happen this way. There's been war everywhere between the neighbors, between different communities, between different cities, counties or districts, countries. There's been war. Always. Because we always want to encroach upon others' lands. Even if we encroach only 6 inches of his land, we feel very good. Oh, see. What are you going to do with that 6 more inches of land? How is it going to give you any happiness? But this is what goes on. And in villages, because there is no proper boundary markings, people encroach. And then there are the fires, and then the killings, everything happened. The land was there before we took birth. Land will be there when we die. And again take birth, land will be there. We only going to take karma with us, but we don't want to understand that. Bhagavater sambandha videya prayojan chatushlokite prakatya katha kariyache laksham. The essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, our relationship with the Supreme Lord, our activities in that connection, and the goal of life is manifest in the 4 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Chatushloki. Everything is explained in those verses. Ami sambandha tattva amara jnana vijnana. Ama paite sadhan bhakti avideyana. Lord Krishna says, I am the center of all relationships. Knowledge of me and the practical application of that knowledge is actual knowledge. Approaching me for devotional service is called abhideya. Spiritual knowledge means fully understanding the absolute truth in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the all-powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan. Ultimately, when one takes shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages in the Lord's service, the resultant knowledge is called Vijnana, special knowledge, or the practical application of spiritual knowledge. One should be engaged in the Lord's devotional service to achieve the aim of life called Prayojan. The practice of devotional service to attain that goal of life is called Avideya. So practice of devotional service is Avideya. The goal is to attain love of Krishna. Sadhanera phal prema moola prayoja. Sei preme paye jiva amara seva. By rendering devotional service, one gradually rises to the platform of love of Godhead. That is the chief goal of life. On the platform of love of Godhead, one is eternally engaged in the service of the Lord. Eternally engaged. It's not that on the platform of love of Godhead, once we reach there and that's it, no more service, we are just in the clouds, hanging out with Krishna. That's it. No, service is also always there. Eternally service, eternally engaged in the service of the. But that service is out of love, not force. That's why bhakti, Prabhupada always translated as devotional service. That is bhakti. Jnanam param guhyam me yad vijnana samanvitam sarahasyam tadangam cha grihana gaditam maya. Please hear attentively what I shall speak to you, for transcendental knowledge about me is not only scientific but full of mysteries. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. So, transcendental knowledge about me is not only scientific but full of mysteries. People always say, Bhakti, what Bhakti? It has to be scientifically proven, Krishna says. Knowledge about me is not only scientific. So, scientific knowledge, when people uh, claim that devotees are only sentimentalists, they have no scientific background of whatever they do. Or like these days, the word going on around is andhabhakta. Devotees are not blind devotees, andhabhaktas. Andhabhakta means, what they actually mean is uh, just following somebody without understanding, without any proof. Just following. No, devotees are not andhabhaktas. Krishna has given plenty of proof. And after understanding those points, now devotees follow him, knowing, yes, he is perfect, Krishna is perfect, and he will take care of us. And bhakti is perfect, Krishna is perfect. We as spirit souls are perfect, but we have been conditioned. People talk about faith, that you have blind faith. No, it's not blind faith. The faith has been tested, and now we have full faith, and we don't need to. Once you have full faith, we don't need to ask questions again and again. Just like, just like I have given this example of when we go take a flight, say from Delhi to Mumbai. Now we buy the ticket, we go to the gate, go through security check, and then the flight, show our boarding pass, and we are shown this is your seat, you sit down. So we have faith in the flight. We have faith in the pilots. We have faith in the crew. We have faith in the airlines. We don't go check each and every gauge of the flight if it is working okay, and the tire pressures are okay, if they got enough fuel in the plane. We don't go check everything. We have faith. And that faith is there because we have seen so many people flying and they reach their destination. Of course, sometimes accidents happen, but still the faith is there in the flying companies and the jets and the crew. We have faith. Is that blind faith? No, because they have tested. They have seen the record. So same thing here. When Krishna says something in Bhagavad Gita, you do this. If you do this, you will gain this knowledge, have this kind of experience, have happiness, you will attain happiness. And of course, acharyas talk about spiritual world, which we don't get a chance to see, but these are some things. There is a difference between spiritual and material knowledge. Spiritual knowledge is realized knowledge. So some aspects of it we develop uh, some understanding, or we have some experience. But whatever experience we have is wonderful, so we have faith. Then whatever is explained, it should be true. So if we don't have faith, we don't take up the process. And Krishna explains, Asharadadhana Purusha in Bhagavad Gita, that those who don't have faith in my words, they take birth again and again in this material world. They go through this cycle of birth and death again and again. So, by having faith in Krishna, by having faith in his words, and who is Krishna, that has been explained by the acharyas. So, we make spiritual progress. People can call it blind faith. We call it tested faith, time tested faith. So, that's why Krishna says it's not only scientific, but full of mysteries. There's so many mysteries. There's so many mysteries in material science, but we don't ask questions because we have been told you don't ask questions. But Krishna explains everything. Mysteries are there because there's lack of our advancement that doesn't let us have the same realization. यही तिन तत्वामि कहीं न तुम्हारे जीव तुम यही तिन नारी बेचानी बारे. O Brahma, I shall explain all these truths to you. Since you are a living being, Jiva, without my explanation, will not be able to understand your relationship with me, devotional activity, and life's ultimate goal. So, Sambandh, Abhideya, and Prayojan. Yaiche amar swarup, yaiche amar sthiti, yaiche amar gun karma shadashwarya shakti. I shall explain to you my actual form and situation, my attributes, activities, and six offerings. हमार कृपाए सब सुरख तुम्हारे इत बलि दिन तत्व कहिलता हमारे. Lord Krishna assured Lord Brahma, by my mercy, all these things will be awakened in you. Saying this, the Lord began to explain the three truths or tattvas to Lord Brahma. So, all these things will be awakened in you, means the realization will be there. So, I guess we can stop here. We'll study tomorrow all the three truths that he's going to explain to Lord Brahma. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay. You all have safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
both of
Jai
you.